It's Saturday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
The wait all week long is finally over. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and much more. The Don Tony Show.
And now your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 2024 edition of the Don Tony Show. It is January 6th, 2023. And believe me, if I didn't know that date, no, it's not because of the insurrection, but happy birthday, Pops. 75 years old today, my dad's birthday, and I will be seeing him later this evening. So the true Don of the family. So that's a picture of us from 1986, by the way. My dad was pimping back then. He still pimps now. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend. Here in New York, we have some snow coming. People are getting all paranoid and they're saying 1 to 3 inches. The last time we had any measurable snow was March of 2022. The last time we had any significant snow was February 16th of 2022. And even at that time, I think it was only a couple of inches of snow. So we have not seen any type of snow here in about 2 years. So it's going to be interesting to see how people react to it. But yeah, you know, look, Impact Wrestling closed out 2023 probably as bad as they've ever been as far as television wise. Something's got to give, something's got to change. And I think we will see some changes TV wise for Impact Wrestling. Their product has been solid. Unfortunately, they don't have, you know, the right names, the right ingredients to draw people in. You know, are they award worthy, you know, winning awards? No. But sometimes you see movies that are independent films. Maybe they don't win awards, but they get really good reviews. But yet at the box office, they sell diddly squat. And that's because despite all the approval and, you know, recommendation by those who have seen it, there's something that doesn't draw you in. Could Mercedes Moné be that person? We'll talk about her a little bit later. Today, we're going to talk honest about Roman Reigns defending the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble against 3 other competitors, a fatal 4-way. We'll have some honest talk about that. We will also revisit The Rock on Monday, and as Kevin and I predicted, people baiting, saying that match is happening at WrestleMania. Cody will not finish the story. Now you see it's intentional. Now you see how the media intentionally riles you up to get you to complain, trigger, and then in the back of their mind, they know what's really happening. So they'll present the bullshit, and then they'll present their idea, which is what we know it actually is. And then when it happens, oh, they went with you. You were right. We don't put the bullshit out there from the beginning. And I can't wait until January 29th, 2024, when Kevin and I return on Mondays to the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. We truly believe for the last 4+ years, your intelligence has been insulted. You have settled for, you know, the subpar. And I think you will realize very quickly, not only how much people have taken advantage of you, but how ignorant some people are out there. It blows my mind, you know, to see what's going on out there. But we'll have some honest talk about Roman Reigns today. We'll talk about Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks, Camille Andrade. We got a LIV Morgan update, which is positive. If you followed my deep dive into her arrest, you knew that felony charge was going to be dismissed. Sure enough, a couple of days ago, that charge was dismissed. But the reason that the court gave It's quite odd. And I'm going to break that down for you. We're also going to talk interesting notes about ratings. You know, I do every week, the week in ratings. We get into AEW, WWE, Impact Wrestling. You know, New Japan is dead in the water, so we really don't approach that anymore. NXT, we get into the ratings for all the shows. We get into the high points, the low points. We get into what peaked and what hit the basement. But in breaking down Dynamite over the last couple of weeks, there's an interesting trend going on. And no, it's not the Big Bang Theory lead-in. If you tune into my shows from 2.5 years ago, we were talking about the Big Bang Theory. This is just a revelation now from people. You know why? Because believe it or not, my friends, earlier in the year, you had Dynamite episodes where quarter 2 was the same rating, if not higher, than the Big Bang lead-in. So it wasn't always apparent, but now the discrepancy is getting so ridiculous that people actually think that 200,000 AEW fans decide 3 minutes into Dynamite, I don't want to watch it today. They waited all week for Dynamite, and then 5 minutes in, 200,000 say, I'm not going to. I changed my mind. What are you, baby? I changed my mind. No, I want it. I don't want it. I want it. I don't want it. So, but in going through the last couple of weeks, unfortunately for me, I went down a rabbit hole. And I know some of you out there, they'll be like, Don Tony, you don't fit in the rabbit hole. I get it. But we went down the rabbit hole. And I went back 22 weeks of ratings. No, it's not a Patreon exclusive. You will get it here for free. 22 weeks of Dynamite ratings. And we found a pretty interesting trend about those numbers. And we break it down into a couple of categories. Was the CM Punk firing attributing to the decline in AEW Dynamite ratings recently? Was it the SHAYNA WAYNE, Nick Wayne, end of Nitro, Thunder, Dynamite, all those weeks of that garbage of people are just getting fed up. This is turning into WCW and turning it off. Is it because of that? Is it because of the Devil storyline that went 3+ months? The Devil, remember the Devil attacked Jay White? We thought he was helping him in MJF. And then next thing you know, 3 months later, the Hummer didn't even last as long. Was it because of that? Is it because, how dare you say this, Don Tony, bastard, you fat bastard? Is it because of the Continental Classic? Did the Continental Classic arouse just the core audience of AEW? I sound like Max Headroom. Core. Or is it a combination thereof? Oh, I almost forgot. Was RIC Flair's debut? Could that have been the icing on the cake? They're like, man, Tony Khan is just a fucking younger, skinnier, maybe he doesn't get laid as much version of Vince McMahon. He's too shy to be a Vince McMahon. He goes into a bar, he's a billionaire, you got all these hot women or guys scoping him out. Oh my God, that's Tony Khan. Oh, he's a billionaire. Oh, I got to get some of that. And he's just sitting in the corner like, you want to smoke? You want to smoke? I think Tony Khan doesn't get laid as much as he does because he's so shy. He's such a nice guy. He's like a teddy bear. You just want to cuddle him. Like, what was that teddy bear from the 80s? Teddy Ruxpin? We got to call him Tony Ruxpin from now on. We got to call him Tony Ruxpin. Just trying to get a laugh out of some of you out there. I'm a fan of Tony Khan's. He's an immature child. I get it. Tony, I'm not trying to grease you for a super chat, but, we're going to get into a dive on the AEW Dynamite ratings because I think we picked up on something pretty fascinating when we get into it. But we got to talk about the return of Precious Paul Ellering and AOP on SmackDown yesterday. Karrion Kross aligned with them. Scarlet Bordeaux with a little bit of a hair color change. We have some photos. You tell me what you think of it. I'm going to give you my honest thoughts on their debut yesterday. Karrion Kross, I think, did great. AOP, if you're being honest for a minute, please get rid of that finisher. Get rid of that finisher. Here, little teaser alert, my friends. For those on video, I want you to see this vicious super collider. That almost sounds like something like a coming to AEW super collider. Commander Gravity super collider. Look how weak this is. Honestly, you could take a 95-year-old woman whose bones are so frail that if she even bumps into a wall, she turns into a pile of dust. You tell me how this is intimidating. Look at these super colliders.
Almost 4 years.
Oh, I touched it. Oh, look at that. Let's be honest, guys. Get rid of that fucking finisher. Look at it again. Just look how Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford's, their buttocks and their backs touch each other. This is a super collider.
Almost 4 years. Super collider.
If they had an egg taped to each other's back, it wouldn't have broken. The fuck out of here. Change that finisher. You've been on the shelf for how long? Change that finisher. Super collider. Super my balls, man. But this now allows BFAB to make her return. And what does this mean for Ashante, the Adonis? Ashante. I don't know. Every time I hear Ashante, I feel like it's some hip-hop diva. You know, I hear that name. I feel like that's somebody that's married to like a hip-hop mogul out there. Ashante. Change your name, Ashante. The Adonis. The what? I proclaim myself name change. Oh, Ashante the Adonis. Should we just get Kross, Scarlett, AOP, Ellering, BFAB, and Adonis out of the way right now? And I'm not knocking it. I thought Kross killed it yesterday. Kross came out there. Actually, let's go one step back. I thought the Street Profits were going to turn on Bobby Lashley last night. You know, this snarl that Montez Ford does, that snarl is not intimidating. It looks like he's walking around and his grandmother accidentally pooped her pants. And he's like, oh, what is that? I thought they were going to turn on Bobby Lashley yesterday. Bobby Lashley's in the ring with the Street Profits. Bobby Lashley says personally it was his worst year of his career. He's looking forward to 2024. One of the bright spots of 2023 was aligning himself with the Street Profits. And at that particular moment, I'm saying to myself, beat his ass. Or maybe Bobby Lashley has someone else come out and beats the Street Profits' ass. But no, they're still aligned. They're still together. And it felt too rehearsed. Because as soon as Montez Ford finished what he was saying, it's like Angelo Dawkins was waiting for his cue. He's like, yeah. And then after he finished talking, there was this awkward pause for like 2-3 seconds. And then the Titantron lit up. And then you see Scarlett. And then you see Kross on the Titantron. And then Kross comes out first. Scarlett comes out second. And then you got Paul Ellering comes out next. And Kross, if people haven't paid attention, he got jacked. He's on fucking carnivore. He's working out like a motherfucker, doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, karate. You know, in fantasy world, I would have loved to see my father spar Kross. My father's a triple-degree black belt. You know, not anymore. Not anymore. My father's 75 years old. You know, how do you like me now? But they come out, and the Street Profits, Bobby Lashley's like, come to the ring. And AOP attacks them from behind. And, you know, they leave him laying. And, you know, the segment worked. The segment worked. Street Profits, Bobby Lashley, once again, baby faces. And that's the right way to go. The Street Profits should have never been heels. It's almost as bad as when they had Alberto Del Rio, suddenly a baby face. It just doesn't work. But, you know, I thought Kross did a great job with Bobby Lashley yesterday. Cross, if you listen, and I'm not kissing the guy's ass. I swear to you, I'm not kissing his ass. If you look at his move, I mean, that crowd legitimately went, oh, you know, this is Cross executing his finisher on Bobby Lashley.
Oh my God!
It's like an F5, but it's like an F5 that I would execute. Like, even though I appear to be very strong, I'm not that strong. Like, I would F5 you, but I wouldn't be able to pick you up high enough so you would, like, fall on your head. But the way he does it, that's purpose. That's on purpose. A little arch, little angle. And it looks like Bobby Lashley gets his head dumped on the ground. So Cross is working on that finisher, and it'll look great. But AOP, though, oh, God, tape here one more time. The egg on the back.
Almost 4 years. Super Collider.
I'm surprised the Street Profits didn't start laughing. Even when he dumped him, it wasn't like a vicious power slam. It wasn't like the Shield when he used to drop somebody. They're just like dumping him like, fuck it. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm excited that the AOP are back because they are talented. But if we get no improvement in their work from a couple of years ago, you might as well have them beat up Cameron Grimes, because in a matter of weeks, I'm not going to give a shit. Now, here's a little exclusive tidbit. Now, oh, by the way, oh yeah, we have to show this. Here is Scarlett's new look. I think Liv Morgan might be a little bit concerned because Liv Morgan, she reminds me a little bit of not Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose, when she dyed her hair. Because look, why did they change Scarlett's hairstyle? She says change in attitude. I think they want her look to be more unique. And I think, you know, certain blondes stand out more than others. You see why you look at somebody like a Candice LeRae, you look at Dakota Kai, you look at others, you know, they have certain styles, or, you know, for some people, different hair colors. You look at Asuka, you look at, you know, this is a unique look. To me, Mandy Rose, you know, I don't think she's coming back anytime soon, but let's look a little closer. I like the look. I don't know if that's her natural color, but it works well. I mean, it works really well. And you know what I think why this works too? The Sable comparisons start going out the door. Because, yes, she doesn't, you know, feature-wise, she doesn't look like she's related to Sable, but a lot of people, because of how beautiful she is and the blonde and this and that, people would make comparisons to Sable. But now think about this. Since Scarlett is with Cross and Paul Ellering and AOP, okay, Bobby Lashley and Cross, AOP and Street Profits, Scarlett and
So that's how we start in 2024, huh?
Hey, I saw what happened out there, and I just wanted to come check on y'all.
So I don't know why would you come waste your time with a joke. That's what it seems like, a joke.
Y'all ain't no joke. Y'all are champions, multi-champions. It was a cheap attack.
We'll get them back.
Oh, we'll get them back. First round's on them. Now it's our turn.
Bet.
yeah, so now Scarlett finally has toys to play with, or vice versa, however you look at it. So, hey, get off my screen. Get off my screen. Where is my video? There we go. So B-Fab is now there to play with Scarlett for a little while. So now you say to yourself, who's going to play with Precious Paul Ellering? Well, I have some ideas. I'd like to share them with you. Ashante! We got an idea. We'll let Paul Ellering beat you up a little bit. I mean, honestly, no, I don't see Ashante Adonis with them. It's possible, but I'm gonna just say this. I'm a fan of Paul Ellering. He'll always be Road Warriors. I'm concerned that Paul Ellering is not there in the long haul. And listen, I played on the name online recently. If the AOP and Karrion Kross start messing with Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso, Paul Ellering is the Paul E of that faction. You see the initials. See Paul Heyman, Paul E Dangerously, Paul Ellering, Paul E. So I could see Kross calling Paul Ellering Paul E, just to trigger Paul Heyman a little bit. The problem is AOP and Kross and Scarlett and Paul Ellering, they're heels. And if they're feuding with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, that's probably ain't happening until after WrestleMania, when we maybe get a little bit of a change in attitude in Roman Reigns. Do I see a Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso turning babyface? I don't think so. So this is kind of odd how they're going to do this. But I have a feeling that Paul Ellering is not going to be there for the long haul. Am I saying he's going to be off TV in 2 weeks? No, I'm not saying that. But I have a feeling as time goes by, Paul Ellering is going to be phased out a little bit. Doesn't need the mouthpiece. Kross, great mouthpiece. But I think Kross, with his own wise man in Paul Ellering, great. But it almost feels like, you remember when, who was it? Brother Love brought out The Undertaker, and then Brother Love sort of like made a deal and Paul Bearer got The Undertaker. It's almost, I just have this feeling, another Paul. I could see Paul Ellering not being there in the long haul. So we'll see. Overall, I thought the return and the segment was decent, but if I were AOP, get rid of that finisher. Get rid of that finisher. And to be continued with Ashante The Adonis. All right. Let's quickly talk about what happened with Roman Reigns yesterday, the Fatal 4-Way, a lot of the triggering of emotion by the media out there. You know, it's again, for me, it comes off as boring. You do it on Twitter, you come off as a party pooper. But, you know, on Monday night when The Rock came out, both myself and Kev warned everyone, get ready. You're going to have people trying to convince you that Roman Reigns versus The Rock is the money match at WrestleMania 40. 98% of the tickets are already sold. People are like, well, it's to hype up Paramount or Peacock, excuse me. All right, let's see if The Rock is live on Raw this Monday. Let's see if The Rock is live on Raw next Monday. The Rock isn't suddenly leaving Hollywood to return. And even if The Rock and Roman Reigns headlined WrestleMania 40, you know, this is not, you know, okay, let me blow my load. You know, like you're in, all right, here's an idea. All right, you're in jail and you're a heterosexual male. And after a year, you're allowed to sleep with your wife. So you get that one opportunity once a year, maybe twice a year, you get to blow it. And then you're right back into playing pocket pool. Roman Reigns takes on The Rock at Mania. The Rock is not going to win the championship. And Roman defeats The Rock. And you took 2 years of Dusty Rhodes being reintroduced to the young WWE Universe. Cody Rhodes finishing the story, documentaries, media appearances. Make a wish, grant a wish. I want a wish. Everything that Cody Rhodes has been doing, you're going to flush that down the toilet because, oh, The Rock and Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40. Anybody that sells you that, I got a chamber I want to sell you. Seriously. It ain't happening. It's stupid. You don't flush 2 years of progress and build because, The Rock is available. The Rock's available. Fuck you. Fuck every single media person out there that knows better and puts it out there anyway because it's controversial. It'll get discussions going. It'll get me views. It'll get me hits. That's bullshit. And now we go yesterday. WWE made the right call. They made the right call. LA Knight already got his opportunity. AJ Styles, as much as we enjoy what he does, no way AJ is going to beat Reigns at the Rumble and then suddenly Cody has to take on AJ at WrestleMania. Woo-hoo! Collision. Rampage. No, I wouldn't say that low. And Randy Orton winning the championship would be pretty cool. I don't think Cody versus Randy Orton has that same kind of emotion as 2 years of build of Cody and Roman Reigns. So by them doing a fatal four-way for WWE, the media gets hooked right into it. Because yesterday we were supposed to have AJ versus Randy Orton versus LA Knight. The winner goes to the Royal Rumble. We get pretty decent match. Randy Orton doing his thing. AJ Styles wrestling in black pants and what appears to be shoes, but they're boots. It look good. Doing what they do. Oh, I got a little thing. It's not a big deal, but nobody's picked up on it. I'm going to show you in a minute. But Roman Reigns would eventually interfere. Roman Reigns would take care of Randy Orton. Roman Reigns would beat down AJ Styles. Solo Sikoa's out there. Jimmy Uso's out there. LA Knight got busted open during this match. And they threw him outside the ring twice to clean up his wound, which they really did not do. Now, here's a little exclusive that I checked social media today. Nobody has picked up on it, but that is a screenshot from yesterday. Roman Reigns picking up LA Knight by the chin, ultimately giving him a powerbomb and giving him a spear. But WWE, if you look deep enough on their website, they've already decided to Photoshop the blood out of LA Knight. You can't Photoshop live video. But if you look at the screenshots, they Photoshopped all the blood out of LA Knight. That is straight from WWE. So we get a beatdown. And then after the beatdown, Nick Aldis, who was at ringside during the whole match, he's getting mad. He's thinking, if you're thinking what he's thinking, probably what I'm thinking, you're thinking what I'm thinking, what he's thinking. And after Roman Reigns holds the belt up high and everybody is laid out, look at your lower right-hand corner. Camera work. Oh, look, Kevin Dunn is no longer there. Oh, look, the camera work's improved. Yeah, I got a little dizzy last night at some of the camera shots. Nothing has changed. Oh, people that worked under Kevin Dunn, now they're brainwashed with Kevin Dunn. That's why they're doing what they're doing. If you look at the lower right-hand corner, you got Nick Aldis talking to Paul Heyman. And Nick Aldis tells Paul Heyman, congratulations, Roman Reigns. At the Royal Rumble, he will be now defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in a fatal four-way. And Paul Heyman looks very, very concerned. And little exclusive video, after SmackDown went off the air, this happened in the back.
One man can't beat me. Wise man, I told you, one man can't beat me. Nobody can beat me. Just like you said, nobody can beat me. I know that my tribal chief and Nick Aldis knows that too. Which is why Nick Aldis just made the title match at the Royal Rumble a fatal four-way. I'm sorry.
Talk, Sweatshirt Man.
They all want to know. You all want to know. Wise man.
Yes, my tribal chief.
Fix this.
Yes, my tribal chief.
Stop looking at catering. So that is the reaction to this. Now, yes, Roman Reigns a little bit overactive. Do you remember years ago that Roman Reigns went to acting classes? I guess when he went to acting classes, they didn't teach him how to laugh. Talk about the most faked laugh. I mean, back in the day when I would say dumb jokes and Kev would laugh, fake laugh to go along with what I was saying, or Kev would say something funny and be like, yeah, we all do it. Roman Reigns, my God, talk about a fake fucking laugh. It's like a bad ringtone. Oh my God, go back to acting class, tribal chief. He doesn't have a tribal laugh, but now it is official. The fatal four-way at the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns will be defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight. And immediately yesterday, people run to their podcasts, to their social media, telling everyone Roman Reigns now can legitimately lose the championship without being pinned. Wow, that's a legitimate possibility. Suck my nuts. That's not a possibility. For WWE and for children and the mentally retarded and those that are high as a kite, yo, dude, Randy could pin AJ and win the belt. Dude, Roman could lose the title without being pinned. Dude, that's who this is designed for. Roman Reigns could fight Santa Claus, could fight Jesus Christ, God. He could fight Donald Trump. He could fight Donald Duck. He could fight anybody, The Rock. You choose it. He ain't losing a title before WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania fucking 40. It's in Philadelphia. They've been hyping it up for a whole year. Roman, the headliner. Night 2, not night 1, not NXT, night 2. Roman Reigns defending the championship at WrestleMania 40 is the, well, he can lose the title and then get it back. Yeah. Then that streak where people say, oh, he's going to pass Hulk Hogan. He ain't losing the title at WrestleMania. He's going to pass Hulk Hogan. They're going to erase Hulk Hogan as the number 4th. Long as anybody that's doing it to you are intentionally faking it. They're intentionally rising you up, trying to rise an emotion out of you. So you complain, you super chat, you tweet, you retweet, you go on message boards, go on their Facebook, write all this diatribe. Why? Oh, this could happen and this could happen. It's not happening. But for WWE and the casual wrestling fan that doesn't have a podcast, that doesn't have media, that doesn't flood social media and message boards or wherever you want to call it, for the casual fan, now the story is, my tribal chief, you could lose the championship without being pinned. My tribal chief, I did everything I could. That's what this is about, because Roman versus Randy is not going to trump Roman versus Cody. Roman versus LA Knight is not going to trump Roman versus Cody. Roman versus AJ certainly is not going to trump Roman versus Cody. And Roman Reigns versus The Rock is not going to trump Roman Reigns versus Cody at WrestleMania. Unless The Rock would have returned on somewhat of a part-time basis. And that's not happening. Notice they're going to Germany. They're going to Australia. They're going to England, Saudi Arabia, obviously. WWE 2024, international. That's pretty much what WWE is doing. For all of us in the United States, we have been spoiled with the majority of premium live events, with the majority of big-time events, even house shows, Raws, SmackDowns in the United States. Yes, every year you'll go to Canada, you go to England, once in a while you go to, Japan. But now WWE realizes, how do we make 2024 an even bigger revenue year than 2023? I got news for you, my friends. It's certainly not by selling this. That's a better picture. WWE's getting a little bit fucking lazy with their shirts. A couple of weeks ago, we had blurred blue Yeet shirts. Now let's take the Yeet shirt and just put a big no in front of it. We'll recycle Hell No's graphic, and we'll just put that over the shirt. That's what they put on sale now for Jimmy Uso. No Yeet. Blurred Yeet and no Yeet. I feel like we're getting a Yeet infection here. WWE, how do you have a bigger revenue year in 2024 than 2023? Bloodline is not what it was a year ago. Judgment Day is not going to be what it is compared to 6 months ago. AOP and Cross is not going to be the next big faction that is going to kill it in merchandise and ticket sales, but they'll do well. So how do you offset that? You go international. You go international. See, I'll say one last thing before we move on. I saw people who I honestly think have a better education than I do, going online in the last couple of days telling us that the amount of money that would be generated because The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. And I'm saying to myself, what the fuck are you talking about? Other than a shirt. What? A surge in Peacock subscriptions? You don't think that WWE over the last year hasn't spiked Peacock subscriptions, that the Rocket Mania is suddenly going to create this? Do you realize, my friends, that The Rock showing up on Raw, confronting Jinder Mahal, had the highest rating of the night? Over 2 million viewers. But do you know it wasn't the biggest spike of the night? Nobody's going to tell you that, even if you Patreon them $30 a month. The Rock will generate a little bit of a surge. And then a month later on Peacock, when they realize The Rock is back doing Scorpion King 9, I'll cancel Peacock after 1 month. If you generated 1 million people on Peacock, 1 million new subscribers for WrestleMania 40, multiply that by $4.99, take away Peacock's cut, take away taxes and everything else, and that's like 1/100th of what WWE makes at one Saudi Arabia event. They make more money doing a Saudi Arabian event than WrestleMania. So when people want to tell you that The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 is the money match, please ask them where they get their stash from. I'd love to try it because they still make more money going overseas. That's the deal. Roman Reigns is not losing it to The Rock. Roman Reigns is not losing it to these guys. Anybody that tries to tease you otherwise, if they're not a child, if they're not high, if they're not brain dead, if they're not mentally deficient, then they're pretty much either dumb or they're just trying to trigger an emotion out of you that they know is not true. And then in a week or two, they'll counter with logic, and then they look like geniuses. That's what's going on right now. So this match in Mania is the right match to do, but the outcome is still the same. What'll happen is Roman Reigns will win because AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight will implode on each other. There's going to be times during that match where Roman is going to be chilling, laughing, eating it up while everybody beats the shit out of each other. And since it's a fatal four-way, there's no disqualification. Anything can happen. Enter Solo Sikoa. Enter Jimmy Uso. Enter whoever you want. So this is very smart by WWE, but the outcome remains the same. All right. Let's before we run down the rest of SmackDown, let's get into some other news since people seem to be enjoying the discussion right now. Great news about Liv Morgan. If you remember the deep dive that we did about her arrest, we said that felony charge would be dismissed, and it has. That misdemeanor will be chopped down to probably a summons. She's not going to have a criminal record. The felony charge was dropped this week. Now, the explanation the court gave, very, very interesting, because if I'm an aspiring THC user in Florida and I'm cruising the boulevard on a beautiful sunny day and I'm stoned, or if it smells in my car, if I have it hanging off of my mirror with fuzzy dice, I would expect other people to cite the Liv Morgan case. Why do I say this? Now, some people think they're sarcastic and funny by criticizing me for talking 15 minutes a month and a half ago about Liv Morgan's arrest. But we got into all the details that broke a month later by Mike Johnson, which we already covered. We also kind of made fun of the people out there that thought that, POSS stood for possibly instead of possession. They still never fixed it. But we also discussed why these charges would be reduced and dropped. And the felony charge has been dropped. Now, the explanation that the assistant DA gave to the National Desk, which is a news outlet in Florida. Listen to this closely because it's pretty fascinating. Listen to it. Quote, in order to prove the charge of possession of THC, which is what Liv Morgan was charged, remember, third-degree felony, the state is required to prove that the THC in Liv Morgan's vape pen, I'm adding some words to it to give you a simple English, had to have come from synthetic sources and not the plant. That's pretty much what they're saying here. And I'm going to read you their exact wording, and then you'll realize why this case is going to be brought up in the future. Or Florida's going to change their law. Guarantee you, I think Florida's going to change their law. This is what they said. In order to prove the charge of possession of THC, the state is required to prove that the THC came from synthetic sources and was not derived from plant sources. No labs in the state of Florida performed such tests. So we remanded it to the county court as possession of cannabis. Simple English. Florida does not test for synthetic THC. So they dropped the charge. You can't arrest someone for possession of THC if you don't send it out to a lab to prove that it was synthetic THC. Could you imagine every fucking person getting pulled over now with a vape pen with synthetic stuff in there? And they get arrested in Florida? And Florida says, we don't have labs to test for that law is going to be changed. You mark my words. But that's the reason why Liv Morgan got that charge dropped. So very, very good news for Liv Morgan. And the other charge, like I said, is going to be reduced to probably a parking summons. Not a parking summons. That's Long Island over here. Only in Long Island you could get pulled over for speeding on the Southern State Parkway, and somehow they chop it down to $170 parking ticket. But in Florida, something's going to change. But that is excellent news for Liv Morgan. So I figured I'd share with you because I know there's enough you out there that want to know that. By the way, Andrade, or better yet, what do we have early? No money for you. No Andrade para aquí. I think that's how you say it in Spanish. Andrade did not make his SmackDown debut. Don't worry. They could do the AJ Styles route. They'll just keep reporting it every week, and eventually they'll get it right. Andrade did not make his SmackDown debut yesterday. I do expect it to happen maybe next week. Based on what happened yesterday with Santos Escobar and Kevin Owens. I have to say it like that. It sounds like Scarface to me. Trust me, growing up in the 80s, do you know how tired I got with everybody trying to Antonio Montana? I probably did it myself too. Everywhere you went, people are trying, you want to fuck with me? You're like just trying to do it. So I got to say it like that. But yesterday on SmackDown, we had the finals of the number one contenders tournament for Logan Paul's United States Championship. It was Kevin Owens versus Santos Escobar. And as you and I all knew this. We said it even before the tournament started. When other people were saying, oh, Kevin Owens is out of the tournament because of a broken hand, we were saying here that no, Kevin Owens with the broken hand will be a storyline because he'll go to punch Logan Paul and he won't have the same effect. And Logan Paul's going to knock Kevin Owens' ass out at the Royal Rumble and retain the United States Championship. That's the story. Yesterday, we had the match. Kevin Owens did win. It was very, very competitive match. Crowd didn't seem to be into it as much as we thought, but we had Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo try to interfere, and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro with a little bit of momentum coming out of NXT. If you saw NXT, you know why I'm saying that. They showed up, still with the LWO colors, I might add, and they chased Humberto and Angel away. And that allowed Kevin Owens to defeat Santos Escobar. So next week, we have the Battle of the Spaniards. Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro versus Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. I should call it the Jackson Heights street fight. Anybody's from my neck of the woods. See in the little corner, you see Santos Escobar. Well, somebody's going to have to be in the corner of Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. If you tuned into last week's show, that's the scenario that we came up with all along. Let's just hope, like I said also, we don't get LWO red, white, and green and LWO red, white, and brown or black or whatever you want to use. But they will take their time bringing in Andrade. They're not going to rush it to give people that sensational orgasmic moment and then 2 weeks later, like, what do we do with him? You see Carlito. I watched Carlito's match again in NXT Tuesday, and it's kind of weird that Kevin, I called that 7 or 8 weeks ago. Something's up with Carlito. He did not do anywhere near what you would expect him to do. I haven't heard anything about injury. I just think it just might be a case that, unfortunately he can't go anywhere near, or it's kind of like a low budget battery. If you put a battery in anything and you turn on put batteries in like a giant boombox, and the boombox may blast for 3 or 4 hours. You put a bullshit 39-cent Eveready generic in there and it might boom for 5 minutes and the batteries die. I think in the case of Carlito, he's kind of like beat the clock challenge material at this point. I haven't heard anything about injury, but you see how they're using him. Man, it's kind of disappointing. It's kind of disappointing. But so after the match is over, Logan Paul, who was at ringside, I think WWE is telling him, lay off the fat jokes about Kevin Owens, because this is like the second time in a row we started going fat joke territory with Kevin Owens in commentary, and then he'll kind of change his tune a little bit. And I truly believe that, because after making some jokes about Kevin Owens, he's like, look, the way he moves, I got to give him credit, this and that. After the match was over, Logan Paul has a stare down with Kevin Owens. And Logan Paul, being a little bit of a cocky champion, look at you over there sweating. You're tired. Me, I didn't even break a sweat, and I've successfully defended my United States Championship for 62 days. Meanwhile, he hasn't defended the title. But that's what heels do. Heels inflate what they're worth. But they're in Vancouver yesterday. So you gotta get personal with the fans. So Logan Paul gets on the mic. He's like, look, a Canadian winning the United States Championship? A Canadian? Now they're in Vancouver. So if they were in California, you might get cheered for that. But they're in Vancouver. So he says the chances of a Canadian, Kevin Owens, winning the United States Championship are just as much odds as the Vancouver Canucks winning the Stanley Cup. Everybody starts booing the shit out of Logan Paul. And Logan Paul's like, and you know why? And before he could say anything else, Kevin Owens knocks him to the floor, selling the pain from the wrist afterwards. And the segment was done great. Again, I'm not a fan of Logan Paul, the person. I'm not into, his attitude, his character, whatever else, but what he has done in such a small amount of time in pro wrestling, I admire it very, very much. And I actually, if I had a choice of Logan Paul being on WWE TV or Logan Paul being off WWE TV, I'd rather see Logan Paul. I almost said Paul Logan. If Logan Paul fucked Paul Hogan. Logan Paul, I'd rather see him on WWE TV. But after Kevin Owens knocks his ass out, and we find out that at the Royal Rumble, it will be Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens for the United States Championship, we had the Acme Insta-feud build. After the match is over, Logan Paul is in the back. Caleb Braxton's trying to land an interview. He's icing his face, selling the punch to the face. Here comes Grayson Waller. Here comes Austin Theory. Can you believe what that asshole did to you? And for some reason, Cameron Grimes comes up. Ha ha! I see you met Kevin. Ha 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 ha. So now Grayson Waller will beat on Cameron Grimes next week. Feel bad, but Cameron Grimes, it ain't working, man. Turn the guy heel. Get the Brillo pad chest hair back. Let him be that rich asshole, or let him be a rich hillbilly. Let him be, I don't even know the PC way of saying it about being certain type of rich, but I think people will get the point. So we had that little Acme Insta feud to set up next week. So coming out of yesterday's match with Kevin Owens and Santos Escobar, we have the tag team match next week, and we have Grayson Waller versus Cameron Grimes. So that'll be next week. Yesterday, not for nothing, I was going to write this on Twitter, but you know what's going to happen. 11 people will kind of like agree with it, and everybody else don't give a shit. I'm like, WWE, when you post a graphic for Mia Yim Meechin, can you one time post it where she's smiling? You ever notice, like, if you saw this picture and you were not a wrestling fan, you would think that Io Sky is the baby face and Mia Yim is the asshole heel. All of Mia Yim's photos, I'm not kidding when I say this. Mia Yim in these photos reminds me of an aunt of mine. And I'm going to post a couple of pictures in the near future, not right now, but every time she takes a picture, she has that look on her face. Like, I don't want to fucking be here. I don't want you to take my picture. Like, she's got that angry, and it's not even like, Meechin. It's just angry bitch face. She did great yesterday. And I loved the match between her and Io Sky up until the Styles Clash. Yesterday, they put on a banger. WWE let them go a little bit longer than usual. Even though Mia Yim Meechin lost the match, she won over the crowd. She did a Styles Clash from the middle rope. And what was great about it was Io Sky was attempting a Huracan Rana from the middle rope. And when she grabbed Meechin with her legs, Meechin caught her, turned it into a Styles Clash off the middle rope. And she executed it, and it was beautiful. Everybody popped for it. I popped for it. My problem, go back and watch it. Not even 30 seconds later, Io Sky unintentionally did a Hogan. She unintentionally did a Hogan. she no-selled the Styles Clash like nothing. You know, when I play a video game, if I play Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, AEW, Fight Forever, if my energy is down into the red and my opponent's energy is down to the red, if my opponent's energy goes even further in the red, I don't suddenly become green. And I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Soon as Michin hit the Styles Clash yesterday, Io Sky rolled out of the ring. Less than 30 seconds later, Michin goes for a dive outside the ring, no water in the pool. Io Sky moves out of dodge. Because Michin missed the move, Io Sky is moving around like she never got hit with the Styles Clash. If you go back and you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. She immediately rolls it back in the ring, hits the moonsault, hits her with a bunch of moves. And I'm like, wait a minute, not even 30 seconds ago, she was unconscious from a Styles Clash. But because Michin missed the dive, somehow Io Sky got energy back to 100%. And the match was over. I know I'm nitpicking a little bit, but I promise you, anything I say on this show today so far, if you go back and you watch that, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And if you compare it to a video game, when you're all the way in the red and your opponent's even in the green and the opponent misses the move and think of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Mike Tyson is all the way in the green or all the way in the red and you're in the green and he fucking nails you once. If he's in the red, he stays in the red. You just go in the red too. You're both unconscious. But Io Sky, she hulked it up and she was fine after. After the match is over, they're in the back celebrating and Bianca Belair shows up. And I don't know. I look at this picture and it almost seems like Bianca Belair is, Io Sky's got this look like, oh, she fucking farted. And Bayley was like, pfft. It looked like Bianca Belair she had that laugh on her face. You ever fought in front of your friends and don't say anything? And, like you're waiting for them to smell it. And you're just standing there and you're just like, you let it out. Nobody hears anything. And you're just waiting. And all of a sudden you look at your friend and you're like, and you just can't help but to smirk. That's what that looked like yesterday. Then I zoomed in the picture a little bit further and I see this. And I'm looking at Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Asuka, and I'm like, what are they looking at? I know that the perception is that they're supposed to act like Bianca's not even there. But it almost looks like Kevin Dunn was streaking in the corner. I'm just unpacking my locker. Oh, I soiled my pants. I got to change. You look at Io Sky, it's like, oh, gross. What's this look on their faces? But anyway, Bianca Belair is talking about how she's going to win the Royal Rumble. She's going to win back her championship, and the Io Sky era will end. So Dakota Kai, because everybody else speaks Japan, Dakota Kai is like, Bayley, you're the leader of Damage Control. You got to take care of this. So next week, we will get Bianca Belair versus Bayley once again, leading into the Royal Rumble. So that's what we had yesterday. Really, really interesting yesterday. I got to find out what's up with Sheamus. Sheamus has not been around much at all. And it's not just giving him some time off. All points were in the direction that Sheamus was going to return and be in the corner of Pete Dunne, Butch, whatever you want to call him. Yesterday, Butch, with a mystery partner, was going to take on Pretty Deadly. And yesterday it was revealed to be Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate hits the Tyler driver, gets the win. And I tell you, I'm not going to lie to you. I think them as a tag team, it looks good. The crowd was into it enough that they were buying into it. I just am a little concerned about the momentum in the future. I'm not trying to disrespect any of the guys I'm about to say. This gives me Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro vibes. Them by themselves are enhancement talent. You need a Santos Escobar. You need a Rey Mysterio. You need somebody else, a Carlito, with them in order to have that perception of being worth more. I see these two guys and I say to myself, without Sheamus, I could see them in a month getting squashed by AOP. They're not underdogs where they're going to be tag team champions. If that was the case, Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland would have had gold for any decent amount of time by now. So to me, this is almost like smoke and mirrors. And it feels like they put these two guys together so AOP could squash them, because we don't want to squash Sheamus. If Sheamus is going to be involved, Sheamus needs to go up against Cross again. We don't want Sheamus to be the victim with Butch. You will see Butch. And you know what you'll see? And I'm sorry for saying this, but I'm just thinking WWE perspective, not what I want. I perceive this as Butch and Tyler Bate will beat Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, sign of respect afterwards. I could see them 50-50 against Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. I could see them 50-50 with Pretty Deadly. I see them getting squashed by AOP. I see them getting squashed by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. This is not a team that was put together to have them go places. They'll get enough so there's some credibility so you don't see them on TV like, oh, squash match coming. But this is why they were put together. And I want to see where these two guys are 2 months from now. We'll give them 2 months. This is going to be the equivalent of Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. Like you see them on TV, oh, cool, they're on TV. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, they're on TV. All right. Let's see what else we got to cover today. So we already got into we got into all the matches. So let's just finish up SmackDown talking a little bit about Paul Heyman and his promo yesterday, because I thought it was great, Paul Heyman. Early in the night, the beginning of the show, Caleb Braxton wants to get Roman Reigns' reaction for The Rock. And, as we showed earlier, Roman Reigns with his great acting. Whatever. So Paul Heyman later on has an interview segment. And Paul Heyman has to talk about, what happened with The Rock. And Paul Heyman, he puts up 2 fingers, and Paul Heyman is talking about how that in order to have a seat at the table, one must be invited to the dinner to be seated at the table. And The Rock has not been invited. The Rock wants to take a shortcut to become the headlines. And in this day and age, there's only 2 ways that you can make headlines and go viral. One, date Taylor Swift, another Taylor Swift name drop, or challenge Roman Reigns. And Paul Heyman nips a couple of buds all at the same time. He brings up Cody Rhodes. The guy is still talking about finishing a damn story. He brings up John Cena. John Cena, comes back and wants to challenge Roman Reigns. Brings up CM Punk. He acknowledges CM Punk is an original OG Paul Heyman guy. But Paul Heyman is upgraded. He's gone to advocate to special counsel. And Paul Heyman, kind of no-sells CM Punk as well. Then he talks about The Rock, and he just brushes The Rock off like it's nothing. And he says there isn't a damn person alive that can beat Roman Reigns. And that's obviously to set up the future with Cody Rhodes. Summertime possibly with CM Punk, no titles on the line. And John Cena already revisited. Now we got the Royal Rumble. So that's what we had yesterday. But Paul Heyman killing it on the mic once again. And that was your episode for SmackDown yesterday. Not a bad show. They revisited, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire attacking the Kabuki Warriors. We already talked about the diversionary reasons for doing this feud, which yesterday amounted to nothing. They revisited The Rock from Monday. And once we get past the Royal Rumble, then we will see the push to Elimination Chamber. The Rock and Roman Reigns at the Chamber. So, all right, let's move on. Okay, I want to briefly talk quickly about 3 women. First of all, Deonna Purrazzo. If you look at the synopsis for last Saturday's show, we had a discussion about AEW and the women's division. And if you see last week's episode, we talked about how AEW not only has to sign Mercedes Moné, they also need to sign Deonna Purrazzo. And sure enough, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, Deonna Purrazzo made her AEW debut, confronted Mariah May, and she is now a part of AEW multi-year contract. Deonna Purrazzo in AEW is definitely an upgrade, but she needs a couple of toys to play with. And I think you have to give this perception of the women's division being up the notch. Just adding ingredients. Sometimes when you make a dish, you could add 5 extra ingredients to it, and it doesn't really influence the dish all that much. If Cody Rhodes didn't spike ratings on a regular basis 2 years ago, if CM Punk, outside of cutting a pipe bomb and having the confrontation with Seth Rollins, if CM Punk is not going to spike ratings on a regular basis, which is not, there isn't any one person. John Cena, when John Cena first came back to SmackDown several months ago, he spiked some nice numbers. After 3 weeks, the ratings were back to where they were before John Cena even appeared. So if John Cena overall is not going to have a spike, if Roman Reigns, when he was on TV a bunch of times, it got to the point where he wasn't even the highest part of the night, if you remember. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, John Cena, Roman, if they're not consistently going to be spiking numbers, what makes anybody think that Mercedes Moné going to AEW is going to be a game changer? That the ratings are going to, the debut will pop a number? Look at Adam Copeland. Adam Copeland, when he made his Dynamite debut, had a nice number to close out Dynamite, the confrontation with Christian Cage. And then after that, they were drawing 400,000 on Collision. So Mercedes Moné alone doesn't spike a number other than a week or two. Deonna Purrazzo isn't going to spike a number other than a week or two. But if you consistently improve it, where the perception of the women's roster that the women are upgraded and it's given more time on a weekly basis, and I don't just mean squash matches, against, Miss Some Dumb Schmuck from Japan, then you'll see the interest improve a little bit. You won't see the channel changed as much. But Deonna Purrazzo, AEW, excellent move. But I remember being even more excited about Taya Valkyrie signing with AEW. With all due respect, when was the last time you really felt like Taya Valkyrie was making any type of a statement in AEW? She went into Ring of Honor purgatory. Now, some other news. WWE, PW Insider reported this, and it is true. WWE has offered a contract to Camille to go to NXT first, because Camille is not going to take away any of Jade Cargill's time once she makes her main roster debut, which could happen at the Royal Rumble. I absolutely love the idea of Camille going to WWE. There is no word right now if she is signed, but I will tell you this. Camille definitely rivals the stature, the size, and the presence of Jade Cargill. Now, I know what some of you are saying. Oh, she's not in the same league as Jade Cargill. Really? Really? Why? If anything, I think there's an argument that Camille probably wrestles rings around Jade Cargill. They're both 5'10". They're both around 30 years old. They're both very muscular. They're both very superhero-ish in their presence. If Camille goes to WWE, she won't get the Fox News, ESPN, treatment that they signed someone on the level of Jade Cargill, but she will definitely be treated like a rock star. So, I personally, no, you don't put her with Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis is the GM. What do you want her to be, her assistant? His assistant? Camille would do fine. I don't even know if they would call her Camille. They probably would change her name. But let them change it to Brie. Seriously, if you tuned into last week, you know I am saying that. Let it change her name to Brie. Seriously. But Camille has been offered a deal to go to WWE, and I think this would be a huge, huge addition to that roster. I could see her immediately going for the NXT Women's Championship. Not saying she'll win it, but I think her in NXT for a good 6 months to a year. A lot of WWE fans are familiar with Camille, but they don't watch NXT NWA on a regular basis. Majority probably never watched NWA while she was there. So they've only heard about her. They might have seen her one appearance walking up steps in AEW. But Camille in NXT, I think this is a bigger story than what's being perceived right now. She would be an absolute asset to WWE. And look, down the line, Camille, Charlotte Flair, she gets, and I honestly think Camille has a little bit of a faster track to getting to main roster. But right now, Jade Cargill is going to be the one to get those headlines. So, and then we have to talk about Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. As we teased, no Moné for you. And I put probably the best example of the noise on social media amongst the AEW wackos and the WWE wackos out there, the neckbeards. Are you tired of it? They did this 6 months ago. They're doing it again. And somebody actually wrote, this is an esteemed journalist this week, Mercedes was 90% confirmed to appear on Dynamite this week, but should debut next week. But if she does not debut next week, I could tell you with 100% certainty, Mercedes Moné will be returning soon. What the fuck did you just say? This is what the media is telling you. Everybody and their mother, there is not one journalist out there that is talking to Mercedes Moné or her agents or her boyfriend or her neighbors or anybody, her hairstylist. They're not talking to anybody. I thought it was so cute when I saw Mike Johnson, he does have sources. I will not deny that. But he writes something, and I'm like, Mike, I got to give you credit for this one. He writes that he talked to someone within AEW that said, of course AEW is interested in Mercedes Moné. We would be stupid if we're not. Didn't just Tony Khan say this a month ago? That he's had discussions with Mercedes, he would love to have him in AEW. Talking to an AEW source, I have friends that are in AEW. I can say, you think Mercedes Moné would be a great fit in AEW? Yeah, it should be fucking great over here. Oh, my source tells me that AEW absolutely would want. You want to give me news? Give me news that an AEW source says, no, we don't want her. That's not fucking news. The boss himself said we would love to have Mercedes Moné in AEW. People are competing to tell you nothing. Mercedes Moné is returning to wrestling. This is not the bidding war of 2024. Last week, it got no traction, and that's fine. As long as you all know it, that's all that matters to me. Last week, we got into detail why the talks fell apart with Mercedes Moné and WWE. This is not, I didn't get this from a source on Mercedes Moné's side. This is somebody on the side of WWE, that there are too many parts in the machine leading to the Royal Rumble, leading to Elimination Chamber, leading to the road to WrestleMania, that they can at the last second just splice Sasha Banks in there. There has to be a chain of events to lead to it. They have their plans on who's going to win the Royal Rumble, who's going to face either Io Sky or Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. They already have it set. Could be Jade Cargill, could be Bianca Belair, it could be anybody. Could be somebody in NXT right now that we're not even thinking about. But the thing is, you're not suddenly going to land Sasha Banks and then say to a woman on the roster right now who's working her ass off that has been told, yeah, looks like, you'll be doing this and you'll be doing this, you'll be doing this. Oh, never mind. Never mind. They're going to treat the woman like they did with Cody Rhodes. Nope, The Rock is back. Never mind. Never mind. You'll finish your story, but you'll finish it at SummerSlam. WWE, it's not that easy. She wants the Mercedes Moné brand to continue. And WWE is not legally ready to draft up all of these papers before the Royal Rumble to ink all of these things. It's just not happening. In the case of AEW or even Impact Wrestling is not out of the question, guys. TNA is not out of the question because it's simplified. Hey, come here. You could do this. You could do that. You could do this. You could have this. We don't want this. We don't want that. AEW don't trademark much of anything. As long as it doesn't interfere with our shows, you could do this. You could do that. You could do this. You could do that. You could do this. And I truthfully believe Mercedes is going to debut in AEW. Tony Storm. There's a little aspect with this that's a little interesting. Tony Storm has been calling out Wendy Richter. Now, with all due respect, do you honestly think the casual AEW neckbeard gives a flying fuck about Wendy Richter? Seriously, you think they're going to, what is she going to do? The reason why Tony Storm is calling out Wendy Richter, if you think of Tony Storm's character and how the brain is functioning right now, it's almost like a comparison to Rockstar, like Mercedes Moné, this and that. Mercedes Moné's theme music has been pulled from iTunes and Spotify. Now, nice try, but I laugh at all these journalists that said, oh, it was pulled because Mikey Ruckus is making a new theme for Mercedes Moné. Why would whoever made that song and is making money, why would they pull the music in favor of something that's being created for AEW? The only way it would be pulled is if AEW made a deal where take the song down, or we bought the song, or with this and that. You don't just take a song down because somebody's going to debut for a promotion. If it's her music, it's her music. So the Tony Storm aspect of it, listen, I think Wendy Richter may make an appearance because not for nothing, if I'm Wendy Richter right now and AEW is just name dropping me for no reason, I go online and say, can you stop bringing up my name? Like, can you stop talking about me? So I think there is something to that. You don't just start name dropping, a legend in women's wrestling just because somebody's playing a little bit of, a couple of eggs short of a dozen. So this is going to lead to something. So we'll see what happens. But I personally think with the freedom that AEW could give Mercedes or Impact Wrestling, I think she could land there. But anybody telling you that they know with certainty, 100%, 90%, You know, I wrote on Twitter yesterday, if somebody covers their ass and says she's got a 50% shot in AEW, a 40% shot in WWE, and a 10% shot in Impact, they'll get it right. See, I told you. So that's the deal with Mercedes as of right now. Somebody who is not returning to wrestling anytime soon is, that's a little too small. I don't dislike him that much. Rick Boogs. If you want to be entertained, go check out Rick Boogs' interview with Chris Van Vliet. Honestly, I got a little bit of a transcript here, and I just changed my mind. Just to summarize it, Chris Van Vliet questioned Rick Boogs about the comment that somebody had this weird, vendetta against him. And Rick Boogs, after all this time, says, that's actually wasn't the right word to use, weird. The guy's just he's turning into Ryback. They might as well just share the Ryback nutrition over a campfire, have a nice romantic dinner with Ryback nutrition. Rick Boogs is turning into, if you took Ryback and he slept with Freddie Mercury, you got Rick Boogs. I like Rick Boogs to an extent, but I'm telling you, if you tune into Chris Van Vliet's interview, Rick Boogs comes off in some cases very, very charismatic. You want to root for the guy, but the guy says, you're not really going to see me in the ring this year. No shit, that's because nobody really is reaching out for you. He's going to focus on YouTube and focus on outside things. I'm telling you, at the end of the year, we're going to probably want to push for Rick Boogs and Ryback to go on a date, because this is where I feel this is going. And listen, I'm a fan of Ryback. I bought his Feed Me More stuff. I watched some of his shows. I mean, I get what he's doing. I appreciate his hustle, and he's intentionally triggering people with the CM Punk stuff because it's getting attention. He's laughing at some of the people that are talking about him. But it gets to a point where it becomes annoying. And I honestly think before the end of 2024, you're going to see Rick Boogs and Ryback in the same sentence. Mark my words. But I definitely recommend you check the interview out. It is an entertaining interview. So, with that said, because we are coming to a close, let me, two things before we get into ratings. Actually, one thing. Just a reminder. 2023, where is it? Here we go. In 23 days from today, January 29th, 2024, Kevin and I will be returning full-time with the Don, Tony, Kevin Castle show. Next week, I will be posting online the link where everybody could register on a Discord channel so you could tune into the shows live on Mondays. The replay will be available on dontony.com and all audio platforms. There'll be an ad-free version on Patreon, and YouTube channel members will get a version of it as well. It'll be similar to the Cornette format. We'll splice in thumbnails, but I may actually add a bunch of thumbnails during the shows. Like if we get into a particular topic, it'll flash to that particular thumbnail. I mean, I definitely could play around with it. But that's going to start on the 29th of January. I will update the video for our channel members because there's two tiers. One of the tiers is going to get a whole bunch of retro DTKC show episodes as well. They'll always show up on Patreon first because they, really, really help pay the bills, and they've been there for 5, 6, 7 years. They will always, choose a lot of the retro shows, and they'll be available online. But all of that, the most important aspect of all of this is next week, I'll post the Discord link. It'll be on Twitter. It'll be on the channel. It'll be on the community section on YouTube. I'll post it in the synopsises, and it'll flash on the screen so you can register. And also next week, we're going to start deciding what day we do the sit-down episode. People in droves want the sit-down episode to remain because a lot of what I cover here on Saturdays, Kevin and I are going to do on Mondays. So some of the shows are going to go away for a little while. There'll be some special episodes. You know, when a special episode is needed for AEW, we're going to do it. When a special episode is needed on the weekend, we're going to do it. Predictions, we're always going to do that. Kevin and I are doing a Royal Rumble predictions show the Tuesday or Wednesday before the Rumble. So a couple of days before, we are doing a prediction show. So even though Mondays, we're back the 29th of January, we're doing a prediction show the week before. So look out for that. But everything will come together. You'll be able to vote what day on the weekend we do the sit down going forward. And not only that, do we do it afternoon or do we do it evening? Do we do it late night? That'll be up to you guys. You're going to tell me what we do with that. And the only way to really, have a voice is to vote. Just don't look at the vote. And if you don't vote and then it ends up that it's not the choice that you wanted, that's your fault. So, all right, we got to finish up today about ratings because I kind of set this up at the beginning of the show that there's a very interesting trend that I have realized about Dynamite. What I have in my hand is the weekend ratings. But what I also have in my hand over here is 22 weeks. 22 weeks. You don't have to zoom in. 22 weeks of Dynamite numbers. There's a very interesting trend that I have found. And is there a particular moment or two on AEW television over the last 5 months that have caused a steady decline in the ratings? I compared it to 2022. I compared it to 2021. 2020, you really can't because that's the peak of COVID, and not having attendances. So people were home a lot more at the time. But I will tell you this, if you think CM Punk's firing led to the decline of Dynamite ratings, you are sadly mistaken. Remember, when Punk came back, he came back for Collision. If I remember correctly, he was only on Dynamite once, maybe twice during that whole period that he was on Collision. He did not affect the decline. But there is 3 topics and one in particular, I'll give you a little teaser right now. Ric Flair's debut. It's pretty fucking fascinating. I'll give you a little teaser. I want to make sure I don't make a mistake because this will probably be newsworthy. Get ready for this. Ric Flair, before Ric Flair made his debut on Dynamite, here it is. Ric Flair's debut on Dynamite. I looked at Dynamite 11 weeks before Ric Flair's debut, 11 weeks after Ric Flair's debut. That is 88 quarters of TV. Before Ric Flair's debut, over 88 quarters of TV. Do you know how many times AEW had over 900,000 viewers for a quarter? We do not include the Big Bang Theory lead-in. Take away the first quarter. How many quarters of those 88 quarters, 11 weeks before Ric Flair's debut, how many quarters do you think AEW scored? Actually, it would be 80 quarters because we're not counting Big Bang lead-in. How many quarters do you think AEW went over 900,000? The answer is 25. 25 of 80 quarters. Dynamite went over 900,000 viewers. Since Ric Flair's debut, there have been 88 quarters of TV. If we leave the Big Bang lead-in quarters out, there's been 80 quarters of Dynamite. Before Ric Flair's debut, 25 of those 80 were over 900,000 viewers. Would you like to know how many quarters have went over 900,000 since Ric Flair debuted? 2. CM Punk's firing was a month and a half before. The Devil storyline may have to do with this as well. 2 out of 80. 2. Go look it up. Go buy WrestleNomics' Patreon, which honestly is worth it. If you're a statistics freak, WrestleNomics Patreon is worth the $5. No plug. They're not going to jerk me off. They're not even going to say thank you. They actually do work there. They do work hard. Some of the information to me is pointless, but they do work hard. All right, let's get into the weekend ratings. And then let's get a little bit deeper into the Dynamite numbers because you'll find some things fascinating. And at the end of it, you'll make the conclusion. Was the Devil storyline the reason? Was the Continental Classic more of a niche and turned off viewers? Was the Nick Wayne, Shayna Wayne disasters? Ric Flair's debut? Few things. All right, let's get into the ratings. Let me pull up my numbers. Let's start with Raw. Okay, Raw. Actually, you know what? Let's get into SmackDown first. Not this last night. We don't have ratings yet. The best of SmackDown. 1,355,000 viewers. That is obviously down from the week price, 2,108,000. It was the best of 2023. Obviously, it was going to be down. The high point of the best of episode was the LA Knight opening and John Cena versus Solo Sikoa, which did 1,725,000 viewers. The low point, give him a little pass this time, but Jimmy Uso once again is part of the lowest ratings of a WWE show. The quarter that had the interviews by Rey Mysterio, Paul Heyman, and Jimmy Uso, that only scored 1,184,000. There's really, you can't call a positive or negative because it's a best of show, but the positive is that Cena versus Solo Sikoa had almost 1.8 million viewers. That's almost on point with SmackDown's regular shows. But you realize that once people, I guess, realized that it was a best of show, they turned it off after 15 minutes. The negative, like I said, once Cena and Solo Sikoa were over, then, you had a bunch of people changing the channel. Rampage from December 29th did 327,000 viewers. That is down from the week prior, 363. The high point, Let's Sex Gods, very popular these days. Their promo and the first half of Ruby Soho versus Marina Shafir did 423,000 viewers. The low point, once again, the High Flyers, Action Andretti and Top Flight versus Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta only did 273. The positive, the opening number, stronger than usual weeks. Hour 2 kept their audience, despite it only being 274,000. The negative, Ruby Soho and Marina Shafir lost 90,000 viewers as the match went on. The not-so-great Utah and Matt Sydal lost 60,000 viewers as the match went on. Collision, I don't believe we had one for December 30th. So I didn't get any numbers for that, so I believe there probably wasn't one. We have World's End, so I don't think we had a Collision. Raw, for this past Monday, Raw's numbers Monday is fascinating. And if you tune in every week, you'll know why. Raw Monday did 1,751,000 viewers. That is obviously gigantic compared to the week prior, 698, which was the best of. The high point for Raw was The Rock and Jinder Mahal's segment, which did 2,154,000 viewers. The low point was the first half of Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, which only did 1,555,000. They do get a little asterisk, Drew and Seth. I'll explain why. Check this out. Hour 1, here's the positives. Hour 1 was extremely consistent, despite hour 1 being the lowest hour of the night. Hour 1 was the lowest hour of the night. It's usually hour 3. Now, you may say, well, The Rock, Jinder Mahal, beginning of hour 3, that's why they did it, blah, 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 blah. Not so fast. Hour 1 did 1,599,000, 1,639,000, 1,588,000, 1,658,000. Pretty consistent. The entire hour number 2 was way up than usual weeks. And hour 2 did not include Jinder and The Rock. Hour 2 Hour 1 averaged 1,620,000. Hour 2 averaged 1,858,000. Hour 2 never does numbers like that. And again, that did not include The Rock. Hour 3 scored 1,773,000. And obviously that is inflated because of The Rock and Jinder Mahal. The Rock and Jinder Mahal not only scored the highest of the night, half their viewers were in that 18 to 49 demo. Over 1 million viewers were in an 18 to 49 demo for that segment. But Rhea Ripley and Ivy Nile scored the same rating as Jinder Mahal's promo right before The Rock came out. Ivy Nile and Rhea Ripley did 1,898,000 viewers. That's not much less, I should say, than The Rock and Jinder Mahal. The Rock's appearance only spiked the viewership by 250,000. The second half of Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins spiked 265,000. The second half of Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre spiked more viewers than The Rock showing up. Think I'm lying? Go look it up. Now, the negative. After The Rock and Jinder Mahal's segment ended, they lost a third of their viewers. Almost 700,000 viewers changed the channel. The first half of Seth and Drew only scored 1,555,000, but as I said, they recovered by getting 265,000 of those viewers back for the second half of the match. All right. NXT for January 2nd. NXT, very interesting this week. A lot of the AEW diehards were very silent about this. NXT this week did 769,000 viewers, up from the week prior, 670. The high point of NXT was the second half of Tiffany Stratton versus Fallon Henley's match, the backstage angle with Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade, Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. Braun with an A. Just add an A to Braun, you have Baron. I wonder if they're going to make a shirt where there's going to be like Braun and there's going to be an A, like, anyway. And Rich Holland's interview. It did 820,000 viewers. The low point was the Family and Joe Gacy's angle and the first half of Trick Williams and Grayson Waller. It only did 716. The positive for NXT this past Tuesday, their 18 to 49 demo was higher than Dynamite. How many people told you that? NXT on Tuesday averaged 329,000 viewers in the demo. Dynamite averaged 326,000. Yes, it's close, but NXT had more in the 18 to 49 than Dynamite. Not a percentage, but more on average. The viewership steadily increased for NXT for the first 90 minutes. Unfortunately, the match that screwed up NXT's overall numbers was the finals, where Obi Femi won the men's breakout tournament. That match, they lost 85,000 viewers as that match went on. Other than Trick Williams and Grayson Waller's, the first half of their match, that was the only other quarter that did not break 800,000 viewers for the night. Once the fans turned it off, they never came back to the numbers they had before. So the Obafemi winning the breakout tournament did not spark the interest that I think WWE was looking for. Dynamite. Actually, before we close out, because we'll do the end for Dynamite. Impact Wrestling. Last week, they did 82,000 viewers, December 28th, and they were actually back to 0.01 in the demo. I'm rooting for you guys. I didn't buy the shirt, so Scott D'Amore could say, thank you for buying the shirt. I bought it because I'm trying to support what they're doing. I hope that they're back. It was funny. I didn't even think about this. I had a decent number of you say to me, wow, that's fucking funny. The Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show, who was probably the most critical about Impact Wrestling during their whole tenure at TNA, they're coming back the same time TNA is. So if Dixie Carter was still involved with TNA, I could only imagine. Remember, we were only one of only two podcasts that were banned from being able to do interviews with anybody affiliated with TNA. TNA had a blacklist of 2. I still don't know who the other podcast was, but we were one of 2 podcasts that TNA said no one is allowed to do interviews. And we weren't doing interviews anyway, so we didn't give a shit. But it's pretty funny that we come back the same time TNA is. But look, this time around, I think we will have some more praise than in the past. But Impact for the 28th went back to 0.01 in the demo, and they did 82,000 viewers. Unfortunately, this past Thursday, they're right back to 0.00, and they only did 74,000 viewers. Impact closed out 2023 with a 0 demo in the 18 to 49 and 74,000 viewers. Awful. New Japan is dead in the water. So now we close out with Dynamite. We're the only show for almost 3 years that have been talking about the Big Bang Theory lead-in. And it is getting much more apparent now because the discrepancy or the big decline between hour 1 and hour 2 is becoming much more significant. In the past, the difference between hour 1 and hour 2, quarter 1 and quarter 2 would sometimes only be 20,000 viewers, 30,000 viewers, 40,000 viewers. Now you're getting 150,000, 180,000, 160,000. And when you only have 8 quarters on a show, it falsely inflates the Dynamite numbers. I'm going to give you some examples right now. And you don't need to memorize any of this, but it does show you what I'm talking about. This past week, AEW scored 801,000 viewers. That is down from the week prior's 843. This is coming off of World's End. The high point was the opening with the Undisputed Kingdom's promo and obviously the Big Bang lead-in, which did 1,064,000 viewers. The low point was the main event of Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia. It only did 690,000 viewers. The positive is that the Undisputed Kingdom, as they went through quarter 1 and those Big Bang viewers changed the channel, they still had 900,000 viewers. So Undisputed Kingdom fans tuned in to see, the explanation by Adam Cole. After the Orange Cassidy and Dante Martin match, which took a decline, they maintained their audience over the next hour. They did 808, 781, 776, and 734. So no huge declines during any particular quarter, but here's where the negatives come in. Every match on Dynamite this past week lost viewers as the matches went on. Their overall demo in the 18 to 49 was lower than NXT. And the Big Bang Theory lead-in is causing a false spike of numbers. Here's some examples. January 3rd, with the Big Bang lead-in, they did 785. Without the Big Bang lead-in, they did 759. I'm talking about the overall number. December 27th, with the Big Bang lead-in, they did 843. Without it, they did 825. December 20th, with the lead-in, 801. Without the lead-in, 768. Actually, that was this past week. The 13th of December, with the lead-in, 822. Without the lead-in, 799. So now we get into the last 22 weeks of Dynamite. Now, a couple of dates that I want you to keep in the back of your mind is the CM Punk firing, Adam Copeland's debut, Ric Flair's debut, and the Devil storyline when the Devil attacked Jay White. Those dates are pretty important because that'll give you an idea where this trend started going downward. And the Continental Classic, obviously. One thing I want to point out, remember AEW Grand Slam on September 20th? Every quarter, did over 900,000 viewers that night, every quarter. So when you realize that for 11 weeks after Ric Flair's debut, they only had 2 quarters over 900,000 viewers. AEW Grand Slam, every quarter was over 900,000. So CM Punk was fired September 2nd. So you think to yourself, some viewers decide I'm done with with AEW after CM Punk was fired. Well, let me give you a couple of weeks before CM Punk's firing and a couple of weeks afterwards. And remember, September 2nd is right around the date that he was fired. Before the firing, they drew 894, 846, 870, 871. After the firing, they drew 887, 874, 888, 875. Should I continue? 984, 856, 84. There was no move of the needle when CM Punk was fired. When the Devil attacked Jay White, that was September 27th. The ratings before the Devil attacked Jay White, I'll give you some weeks before and some weeks afterwards. The ratings were, prior to the Devil attacking Jay White, 846, 856, 984, 875, 874, 871. Right around 900,000. After the Devil attacked Jay White, this is what their ratings were. 846, 796, 776, 833, 804, 824. That was after the Devil attacked Jay White. Adam Copeland made his debut on October 4th. The ratings a month before Adam Copeland's debut, 846, 984, 875, 874. After Adam Copeland's debut, 796, 776, 812, 804. But to me, the two big ones, the Continental Classic and Ric Flair's debut. I think after 11 weeks, you see a trend. And I think the combination of the Continental Classic, which, listen, the matches were top shelf. But remember whose belts were on the line. We all love Eddie Kingston. He's a homeboy over here. We've been rooting for him for 20 years. But at the end of the day, it's Ring of Honor, it's New Japan, it's, it's titles that it doesn't, when there's so many titles don't feel special. The person who holds it is special, but the title themselves are not special. And just because you have great matches, and listen, at the beginning of the tournament, everything was about wrestling. Remember, it was going to be, just more traditional wrestling. I turned in spots with John Moxley, and you saw brawls outside, tables, this and that. You're like, come on. Don't try to sell it that it's matches with honor, and then you tune in and it's clusterfucks, because that happened a lot, and it happened more as the weeks went on. And plus, the Devil storyline, I think, got tiresome for a lot of people out there. Adam Cole is the reveal. It's something I said about Shayna Wayne. Just because it makes sense doesn't make it good. I'll give you a great example right now. Whether you like me or you don't like me, you have to admit this. Adam Cole on Monday brought up Wardlow. I don't know if you watched Dynamite on Monday, but Adam Cole brought up Wardlow. And when he brought up Wardlow, he said that he is now with a family that cares. He will not be taken for granted. A few moments later, Adam Cole talks about how Wardlow is going to hand Adam Cole the championship. You might as well have put a dinosaur mask on Wardlow and call him Kill Switch. you know, you don't think about little things like that, but as soon as I hear shit like that, I'm like, oh, okay, I see it down the line. Wardlow will be taken advantage of, and he'll get frustrated, and he'll turn on Adam Cole once Adam Cole is not an invalid anymore, and then we're going to pop and blah, 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 blah. Not interested. Not interested. So, let me give you the 11 weeks of Dynamite before Ric Flair's debut. Got them right here. And these do not include the Big Bang lead-ins. Before Ric Flair debuted, this is what the ratings were for 11 weeks. 894, 846, 874, 867, 869, 874, 875, 984, 846, 796, and 890. Oh, one note. We did not include NXT versus AEW on whatever date that was in October. We did not include that. It was a 10-10. We didn't include that. So you listen to those numbers before Ric Flair's debut. 894, 846, 874, 867, 869, 874, 875, 984, 846, 796, 890. After Ric Flair debuted, here's the 11 weeks that followed. 812, 791, 804, 838, 842, 799, 812, 768, 825, 759. You're talking on average over 100,000 viewers for weeks and months. Now, in my opinion, the weeks I just brought up also include the Continental Classic, because the Continental Classic began around November 22nd. And the Continental Classic, those ratings are included. So in my opinion, the Continental Classic, Shayna Wayne and the Nick Wayne WCW-like clusterfucks, Ric Flair's debut, and the Devil storyline, all four of them combined consumed AEW for the last 3 months, and I think it turned off a lot of fans. We're not talking 10,000. We're not talking 20,000. But again, before Ric Flair's debut, over 80 quarters, AEW went over 900,000 25 times. After Ric Flair's debut, over 80 quarters, AEW went over 900,000 twice. I think it's a combination of all of those things. As much as the Continental Classic was good, you went through months of, exciting tournaments, titles on the line, 2 points, 6 points, 10 points, 4 points, 2 points. Who the fuck wants to follow that stuff? We saw it a month before. Did suddenly somebody's going to get a surge and there'll be a 3-way and because we can't job out Jay White, he'll be put in there, but then people complain about Swerve, we'll put him in there too, and he's Moxley, so we got to put him in there as well, and then Bryan Danielson, he's in there, so we got to give him a surge, and blah, 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 blah. You know, we had great matches, but we've been watching great matches for years and years and years and years. So what made this extra special? Because Eddie Kingston was in it and Eddie Kingston's belts were on the line. So I think all of that as a combination has tuned off a decent number of fans. And will we see any improvement? MJF now is off TV. Either getting surgery or having a rehab. Listen, I want people to realize something with MJF before we go off the air, because I want to finish it exactly 2 hours. If MJF rehabs his arm, there's no reason why he can't be on TV. Adam Cole is recovering, and Adam Cole's been featured on TV quite a bit. It's not like MJF has to be bedridden, that he's going to be in a body cast. So if MJF rehabs the arm, he could still be on TV. In fact, honestly, MJF should be featured. Remember what I said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. MJF needs to align with Jay White. MJF needs to align with everybody that are against the Undisputed Kingdom. And let me also say something else about the Adam Cole Undisputed Kingdom storyline. When you treat Wardlow like shit for an extended period of time, he could be aligned with Tony Khan. He could be aligned with Donald Trump. He could be aligned with Adam Cole. AEW has shown me no faith that Wardlow is going to be pushed now to the top. They did that with Hobbs. They put him with QTV. They did that with Hobbs. They put him with Don Callis. Yeah, just because the person is wearing street clothes and is groomed doesn't mean that I'm going to suddenly think, oh, they're finally pushing him. Give 1 second. Yeah, okay. I got to pick up her dogs at the groomers. Something else. Roderick Strong, as much as I like him, for the last 2 months, we've been getting comedy. We've been getting stuff about sandwiches and fishing segments and Big Show looking like Mr. Magoo and all of this comedy stuff. And now because they're all in the ring and we got an invalid holding a devil's mask, I'm supposed to be like, oh, this is not a shot on Adam Cole. This is not a shot on Wardlow. This is not a shot on Roddy Strong. I don't give a shit about the Kingdom. Why am I supposed to suddenly be must-see TV because they took out MJF? I'm just telling you as a fan. So just because something makes sense doesn't mean it's good. I brought up the Shayna Wayne example. First and foremost, Adam Copeland, Concerto's Nick Wayne. If I'm his mother, I'd be fucking angry at Adam Copeland. That doesn't mean it turns into must-see TV. There's a lot of shit that makes sense that doesn't make TV because just because it makes sense doesn't make it good. So when you see what you're seeing right now, you're not going to hear this from the AEW, diehards out there and the podcasts that are desperately trying to get attention by AEW. You're not going to hear any of this stuff. The only time you hear it is when it's become so unavoidable, they have to talk about it. They have to talk about it. So as long as you feed me shit, just because another week comes and the lights are dark and somebody's wearing a suit and somebody's holding a devil's mask and somebody's doing this, doesn't mean that suddenly we're supposed to forget about everything. So mark my words, MJF will be back on TV sooner than you think. And Swerve Strickland, we all love him. We all want him to be AEW World Champ in 2024. Swerve Strickland is not the savior. He's not the Black Jesus Christ that's going to save the world. He's not Black Hulkamania. He's not going to be this big savior for AEW. Even if he aligns with MJF, he's not the answer. It's got to be a combined effort. And you cannot present people as jokes for months and months, and then suddenly everybody's supposed to forget about it and take them seriously because somebody had a devil's mask. And that's the problem that they have right now. So you look at everything that I just said, the Continental Classic, the Devil reveal, the Devil storyline, I should say, RIC Flair's debut, and what was the other one? The Continental Classic, RIC Flair's debut, the Devil storyline, and I know I'm forgetting one other one. It's not Adam Copeland's debut. Adam Copeland had no bearing on the numbers. Had no bearing on the numbers. So you take it however you want. But I see clear cut. I think overall, AEW fans, unless you break a bone, or unless you're like El Hijo del Viqueño, I almost said El Puerto Riqueño. El Hijo del Viqueño, where you got to fucking do some crazy ass shit. I think people are just getting numb to it. So, all right, I'm going to jet out of here. Before I go, I feel bad. I saw this come in early in the show, and I was going to segue to it, but I didn't get a chance to. Chris Cuttra, thank you for the $19.99, my friend. Seems like if Mercedes returns, the perfect would be is her and Bayley against the Kabuki Warriors for the tag titles. If not, he'd have Bayley win the Rumble and face Io, with Becky finding another way to face Rhea. It's not bad. I just think Bayley is going to cost somebody from the Damage Control team to be eliminated in the Royal Rumble. And Bayley is going to have that look on her face like, I fucked up. The same look on her face when she was told not to be at ringside for Io Sky's matches and Asuka's matches, and she showed up anyway. Bayley is going to get greedy. She might intentionally eliminate someone. She might accidentally eliminate a Damage Control member. I don't see Bayley winning the Royal Rumble. I don't see it. It would be interesting, but, you know, I could see, you know, all right, I'm going to challenge Rhea, and then maybe Bayley starts thinking about it's too complicated. Bayley, I think it's too good of a storyline. You don't need a Rumble win. You don't need a Rumble win for that storyline to continue. Somebody needs to win the Rumble to get that match, and it could very well end up being Jade Cargill. When we get closer to the Rumble and Kevin and I do predictions, then we'll start narrowing this down. Hey, when we get to predictions, I may predict Bayley after all, but as of right now, I don't think Bayley needs the Rumble win to go further. I don't think she needs it, but it's definitely not a bad idea. I'm not going to complain about that. Thank you, Chris, for that. And Ryan Armstrong, did anyone see Wrestle Kingdom 18 and the debut of former WWE stars of Japan, New Japan? WWE should wait to re-debut Andrade during the Men's Royal Rumble. I talked about Andrade in the Rumble last week because I think WWE has to be careful about the crowd reaction for Andrade's return, but there's definitely elements that'll make it work. If Zelina Vega brings him out next week, crowd will pop. If Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro say, you know, because Santos Escobar is out there, we have someone ourselves, people are going to think it's Carlito after seeing NXT. So if they bring out Andrade, I don't know what kind of reaction it's going to get. I'll be done in 2 minutes. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry, my friends. So Andrade returning at the Rumble, it's not a bad idea. It's only a couple of weeks away. But you don't want him to be number 16 in the Royal Rumble and the crowd politely pops for it. It's not going to be an AJ Styles debut. It's not going to be a Kevin Nash return. It's not going to be, you know, somebody where everybody jumps out of their seat. They don't do that for Andrade. If Charlotte Flair brought him out there, maybe you get a different reaction. But I think Andrade will be brought back before the Royal Rumble. I really do. And as far as New Japan, I have not seen Wrestle Kingdom as of yet. I did see the confrontation with Dolph Ziggler, which I thought was good. The only problem is when they start brawling and they're punching the shoulders, it's like, come on, you know, sometimes you don't want to connect, but sometimes if you're going to start punching someone repeatedly, you got to, like, you know, just try to, like, make it look like how you would punch someone in real life. I mean, they're punching like this, like they're penguins. I mean, go back and watch Dolph Ziggler fight with that guy and they're punching like this. You know, Matt Riddle, we're going to have a discussion about Matt Riddle on Monday because we may be interviewing Matt Riddle after all. I actually have been in contact and I'll talk about it on Monday, but I want to see Matt Riddle in New Japan. I want to see what he does. He's going to be taken much more seriously now than before. But, you know, Wrestle Kingdom, you know, hey, Mercedes with the appearance as well. So it's definitely something to check out. If you've never seen Wrestle Kingdoms before, definitely something you might want to check out. But, all right, you heard her. You know, the boss, she's the boss, which means I got to cut this off. But, hey, we could continue this conversation tomorrow because even though Don Tony and Kevin Castle show is coming back on the 19th of January, we're still business as usual right now. So tomorrow night, Sunday night, the 7th of January, 2024 at 8:05 p.m. Eastern, I will be here for your next edition of the Sit Down. And that is straight up live Q&A. Whatever you want to talk about, that's what we talk about tomorrow night. So if you're not doing nothing tomorrow night, you're welcome to join me here live. We'll hang out for about 90 minutes, having some great discussion. And we'll do that. And then Monday, you know, we're 1 week closer to the Royal Rumble. and we got to see the fallout with Drew McIntyre. So, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I think we had some legit, strong conversation, and we'll see where a lot of this goes from here. So definitely post your comments, your feedback. I read them all, and you share your thoughts with everyone else out there. It is always welcomed. And definitely make sure you pay attention to next week. We'll be posting links, announcements, some video clips, and, things are going to get very interesting towards Royal Rumble time. So be well, everybody. Have a good night. Take care.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.